Welcome, citizens of the world, to this Kiuwan webinar, Introduction to Kiuwan Reporting, getting your data out of our SAST SCA tool. My name's JD Burke, and today I'm going to be joined by Eduardo Boronat. We both work for Kiuwan Software. I'm a pre-sales engineer, and Eduardo is part of our customer success organization. And today we're going to share with you a little bit about how to pull data out of Kiuwan for your reporting. So going over the agenda, we'll talk a little bit about Kiuwan, give you an idea of what this tool is for those of you that don't have access to Kiuwan already. We'll look at some of the exporting of data you can do via the dashboard, the Kiuwan dashboard. And then there is a feature in Kiuwan called Governance that some of you will have turned on. They have an additional set of data that we'll look at that you can pull out. And then at the end, or the last item, is that Eduardo has put together some examples pulling data out via API. So he's going to get geeky with us and light off his IDE and actually put together some code to go to our API, pull data back, and then create some, I think they're Word documents on the fly, and show you how you can generate a template with some common packages and build your own bespoke reports. And then in theory, you could stitch in your own data from there and augment the reports and make them even richer and better. And then, like I told you earlier, we would have a Q&A session at the end where you can ask us questions, and if you want us to get even more geeky, we can try. So a little bit about Kiuwan. Kiuwan's a global company actually owned by a company called Adira. You might know Adira from some of the other products that are in the Adira family, like TestRail and Travis and Assembla. That's a test reporting, a repo, a secure repo, and then a CI tool that are common in the industry. And now Kiuwan, which is a SAST SCA product. So SAST is static application security testing. That's where we scan your source code looking for patterns that represent security, and in our case, security and quality issues that you may be interested in. You can feed those back to your developers to help improve the quality of the code before it moves farther right in the pipeline. In the big picture, from a testing point of view, Kiuwan does SAST and SCA, and we tend to be over on the left end of the pipeline. And some of the other things you will have heard of in the testing world are the IAST and DAST from a security testing point of view, which are our cousins to the right. And then even farther to the right are where the pen testers and the SOC lives for your security testing. Somewhere in the middle there are the folks that you know of as integration test, or the test unit that does the acceptance test and the regression test, smoke test, that kind of stuff. Kiuwan allows you to scan your code and check for security and quality issues. We are aware of some 33 plus languages, and we scan your code with respect to standards and frameworks like these. That's roughly 12 or 13 standards and some 25, I think it is, frameworks that we check for in your code, or that we have rules that check for patterns as defined or in these languages. The kind of things we look for are these. Some of these will be known to you by other names in the security world. So you may have a SQL injection in there under the injection heading, or cross-site scripting in some of those. And if you're a quality person, some of these will show up as quality issues that you care about, like complexity and spaghetti code, and there are other common concepts that computer scientists use one word and the rest of the world uses some other terms. But leave it to that we at Kiuwan scan for those things and present them in a way that you can handle them. We also do SCA scanning, which is software composition analysis. So Kiuwan SCA is called Insights, and Insights scans those third-party and open source packages for vulnerabilities as defined by CVSSs and CVEs. And generally speaking, from the NVD database, among others. And that's that notion that if you're using a third-party package that has been compromised, we give you an indication that that may be a thing you might want to have your engineers consider replacing for a more secure version. As I told you earlier, we also do quality. So Kiuwan has its roots in software development, and we tend to focus on software quality, roughly related to ISO 25000, which speaks in those 5 terms or 5 pillars of software quality: portability, maintainability, efficiency, reliability. And then the last one is security. You can take that security pillar and then continue to fine tune that and turn that into SAST and SCA, which is what you saw in the previous slides. Graphically, what that looks like is that Kiuwan is a SaaS tool, so it's a cloud-based tool that comes in 2 parts. So you can run it all in our compute on the cloud, that's fine. But the actual part that does the analysis is a Java application that you can download onto your domain, your premise, and scan your code on-prem, and then upload the results, and then we use those results and augment those to provide a dashboard back to you with a deeper view onto the health of your code. That's important because that Java application, first of all, it's free, so you can deploy that in your organization at fairly low cost and low friction. But it allows you to bring the scanning problem to the code rather than taking the code to the scanner. And that's going to mean something to the risk managers and the threat analysis that you're going to do when you're trying to lock down your domain and make sure everything's safe. And then in a big pipeline view, it looks something like this, where Kiuwan tends to live in the development area, although we can spread out among the rest of the pipeline. But we tend to watch code at the developers level, and as it gets checked into a repo to provide some kind of feedback to folks. Now, today's webinar is about that feedback. So we're going to show you how to pull feedback back from the Kiuwan results database. And you could feed that back to wherever you want to do it. You could feed it back to the developers, or you can feed it even farther left to the stakeholders, or you could feed it to the right to folks that care about the quality of the code that's coming down the pipeline towards them. So for example, you could feed it to the security team and to give to the pen testers and remind the pen testers that they don't get any points for popping a shell on something that we already know is weak. They have to go find something that's not already been detected by Kiuwan. And we're going to, today, Eduardo and I are going to show you how to pull some of that data out of Kiuwan using the existing export methods. And Eduardo is going to lash together some code to show you how to build your own reports for customized reporting solutions. All right. So this is just a picture, a snapshot of the Kiuwan dashboard. So when you scan code in, the analysis is pushed to Kiuwan and then presented back to you in a dashboard. That dashboard looks something like this, and multiple menus. So this is our SAST, this is our quality component, this is our SCA component. Most of those have this hamburger menu on the page in various places. And when you click on those hamburger menus, just like on most apps, you'll pull down a series of additional actions that you can work on. And in today's example, we're going to be looking at that, and I'll show you some of these additional actions that are tucked underneath those hamburger menus. So with that, let's do a little intelligence test here and shift over to not a canned version, but the actual live version of Kiuwan. So this is the Kiuwan dashboard. These are all vulnerable, sample apps that are known vulnerable that we've scanned. And when we scan an app, we bring back a summary page, among other things. In this particular case, we're looking at the SAST view of this. This is also true for the quality, code quality, which is we call code analysis, and SCA for insights. But it brings back a summary menu with the overall view of the data or the analysis of the code. And from there, you can pull down the hamburger menu and look at additional ways to pull that information out. So in this case, this page allows you to summarize this information into a PDF form. If, for example, you were to come over here to the vulnerabilities page, this lists out the itemized list of vulnerabilities we found in this sample app called A Customer Portal. And you can click through here. There's tons of information. The family of vulnerability, the standards that inform us about this, how to fix, or tips on how to fix that vulnerability, the line of code, the file where the issue was found, and then the line of code example. But if you come back up here in the hamburger menu, you can pull this data out that you see on this page several different ways. One way is you can use the canned features that we have, and you can go ahead and download this as a CSV. If you happen to be a ThreadFix customer, you can export it to that tool, or you can pull it down as a PDF, which is a different formatted PDF than was on the summary file. And when you do that, if I can find that, you pull up the CSV, and I just loaded it up into numbers on Mac, but you get a full dump of the information on that page in a flat format. So from here, you could go ahead and mangle it in Excel or whatever you like to use to manage your flat files. You go ahead and process that into some other format. We do the same thing with the PDF, where we take the information on that page and then report it back in a pre-formatted PDF ready to go with selected bits of information from that page. From here, the idea is that you could provide this to your management and give them an idea of what you found in your scans. So you recognize some of this information from the dashboard. Where you see things like line numbers, file names, the metadata that describes what we found, what weaknesses we're leveraging there, or what standards or organizations are pointing to that vulnerability. And then the last one, it was that ThreadFix file. Actually gets delivered as a JSON. So even though we label it as a ThreadFix file, a better way to think of that is you can export this data as a JSON in a ThreadFix format. And that ThreadFix format is widely publicized. You can go to the ThreadFix website and download that Rosetta Stone on how to decompose that JSON if you can't figure it out yourself. And then you can take that JSON and you can use it and mangle it into your own forms. If you want to create your own JSON or append information to that JSON, you could go ahead and post-process that our version of a ThreadFix JSON file and add into it your own information. And like I said, these hamburger menus are littered among multiple pages here. So you'll find this concept on all of our pages. So as we talked about, there is a feature in Kiuwan called Governance. So not all customers have this. This is an add-on to the basic Kiuwan subscription, costs extra. And it's designed more for the software engineering managers or people who have an interest in the overall health of the portfolios and the product line, the code, not just an individual branch of code, but the overall health of the organization and the pipeline itself. It gives you more project management type view of the code that you're scanning, all the codes you're scanning, and the vendors that provide the code, the overall risk posture of the entire organization, that kind of thing. along with doing all that, it gives you the series dashboard to help leadership, but it also provides a series of reporting features that are not available to folks who just use the basic SAST and SCA tools. Those extra reports are under an administration menu we call Reports Management, and I'll show you that here in a minute. It allows you a tool which we call a report manager, which has a series of canned report widgets. So you can build a bespoke report out of these widgets, and you drag and drop these or click and add these widgets, and you construct a report out of a series of these smaller data widgets, and then those get used to populate the various output formats that the report manager is capable of delivering. What that looks like in actual real life is something like this. So we're talking about governance. Governance gives you an overall view of the software in the entire organization, the software you've been scanning in the entire organization, and you can sort the views by various metadata to get a more nuanced view of how the organization is performing from a holistic health point of view. And like I said, there are hamburger menus littered across all of our interface, and we allow you to create or use one of our, pull this data down into one of our bespoke PDF formats. And then I told you that once you enable governance, you have under your administration menu the ability to create your own reports using a report widget. So you can create your own reports by using our report widget. You go ahead and add widgets. These are all the widgets you have a choice of using to build a report. And you can customize them with your own title and additional features that we allow in the widget. Go ahead and add that widget. And then you can continue and add widgets to hand pack or hand assemble a report that's customized for whatever target audience you want to display to. And then with that, you now have a report that you can generate. Clicking on generate allows you to generate a report, and in this case, it's a report that's made out of the data as described by the widgets that you added to that report, and then you can output that either to a PDF or a PowerPoint. And it gives you a basic deliverable that you can start to modify and embellish from there, or fine-tune from there. And then once you create that, it goes ahead and creates a deliverable that's downloaded for you to open up and use and improve on from there. All right, so to recap most of what I was talking about, we have looked at some of the canned reports that are available to everybody under the hamburger menus, which generally speaking is either a flat file as a CSV or a PDF in a Kiuwan format, or in selected areas you can download from the dashboard JSON data that you could manipulate on your desktop. And then if you are a governance customer, then you have access to the reports management dashboard, which allows you to create reports from widgets or from these canned tools and bring back data and assemble that data into a format that's important to you. And that's all good. That's really cool stuff. JD, you're doing great work. But really, the way most of us want to do it is the way Edu is going to show us how to do it. Kiuwan comes with a REST API, and we'll take a moment and jump over there. So if you are logged into Kiuwan, or you can go to our homepage, and there's a way to get to our user manuals that are freely available today. They're up there now, but you can go to our repository of information, and you can do a search, and you can pull up our REST API. And you can read all that. That's important stuff that you should know. But really, what you're going to do is you're going to get down to the REST documentation, which gives you lots of examples on how to create a REST connection to Kiuwan, and then the endpoints so you can pull data back and create your own reports. And what we've done is we've asked Edu to join the call today to help us look at that. And what Edu will do is most all of our data that you saw on the dashboard is available via the API. And you can go to those pages I just showed you, which are right here, and you can retrieve the data via API and then build your own documentation and packaging. And we're fortunate today that we have Eduardo on the call. And Eduardo, if you're ready, I'll change presentation over to you. And then Eduardo will help us. At least I think it will. Hold on a minute. Find the right button.
Thank you, JD.
Hold on. And then Eduardo will take a few moments to actually do everything I just said. Show us some scripting, some code that he put together to help pull back data. So Eduardo, will you please help us build some reports?
Yes, thank you, JD. Hi, everyone. So before finishing the webinar, I would like to show you how the Kiuwan REST API is used and how we could generate customized reports thanks to the data provided by this API. So Kiuwan's API is very comprehensive. We can obtain almost any information of interest that we see in our Kiuwan account, such as retrieving the results of an audit, a list of the launched analysis, the defects and vulnerabilities of an analysis or action plan, among many others. We will also be able to carry out operations, especially related to the administration of Kiuwan, such as creating or deleting users, creating applications, muting defects and vulnerabilities, and all the endpoints are listed in our documentation. I'm going to show you. So as you can see in my screen, this is the REST API documentation. And on the left, all the endpoints are classified in sections. So imagine I want to retrieve a list of all the users that are created in Kiuwan. So we should go to the user section, which is here, user section, and we will see here all the available endpoints. So for example, this one, get list of users. So if we go here, we will see that the endpoint is /users. So we will have to make a request to api.kiuwan.com/users. And here we will find all the parameters that maybe they are optional or maybe they are mandatory. So in this case, they are optional. We can include an email address, provide some username, and say that if that username must be the same or just include some string. So here we have the response, the error code responses, and here, if we click here, we will see an example. So in this example, we are trying to retrieve the user whose email address is johnsmith@mycompany.com, and the username must be john.smith@mycompany.com because it is exact username equals to true. And we have here the response example, and as you can see here, it is a JSON data. So here we are retrieving that user information. it may be the case that we have, like for example, in this one, in order to create a user, we have to make a post request to /users, and we have to insert a JSON data into the body request. And if you can see here, it is a model. So all the models are explained here in the model section. And for example, if you see the example request, you will see here that this is the model. So the model contains parameters like the username, first name, email, but will also can have other models like the model access control configuration in order to set some privileges to that user, application roles, business value, and those models, if we access to that model, we will see here how it is composed. So it is composed by another model and by the email, the first name, last name. All right, if you want to use this REST API from any programming language, my advice is to use Swagger. So with Swagger, you will have to download here this JSON. And if you upload this JSON to Swagger, then you will be able to download a project. It could be a Java project, a Python project, for any programming language that you would like to use. And then that project will contain all the necessary endpoints that are that you should use. So it's very easy to use it, and you will work with objects, so you will facilitate your tasks a lot. Well, now we are going to see how a report can be generated with this JSON data retrieved from the API. Because although Kiuwan allows the download of a report of the most significant screens in either PDF or CSV format, it is always possible that we want to export more specific information. For that, we can use open source tools such as Carbone. Carbone is you can find it in GitHub. This is the page, and it will allow us to create a report in any format from a JSON data, as you can see here. So once you clone this repository, this project into your local machine, you will find a folder like this one. You can use Carbon or you can use any other existing tool in the market. So here we will see this folder, examples, where we can create our templates. For example, the user's template, which is this one, where we will retrieve, this is for listing all the users that we have created in our Kiuwan account. So for that, we can create this template where the input for this template will be the JSON retrieved from Kiuwan, and we are generating a table like this one for every user in our account. So this one will be the first user, here the second one. So this is a template. Now we are going to see how to use it. Then we have also created an Excel template. All right, where we will see how to extract all the portfolios from Kiuwan into an Excel file. And as done before, we have a table where we will that will receive JSON data, and we will fulfill this table with the JSON data. So for that we have created two JavaScript Node JavaScript programs that are those one. The first one what it does is, first of all, it will call Kiuwan API with the /users that we have seen before. And I'm telling here that I would like to retrieve all the users whose username contains the string edu. And then we are also importing the Carbon project. So here, using the users template, the docx file I have already shown you, we will create the final report that it will be a Microsoft Office Word report. Of course, you can convert this Office report into a PDF programmatically from here or directly from Word. And the second example, we are calling the portfolios endpoint. So as Kiuwan doesn't allow to retrieve that kind of information directly from the dashboard, from Kiuwan dashboard, we are going to do it from here. We will retrieve all the portfolios. We will call the portfolios template, the Excel file you have already seen, and then we will generate that Excel report that, of course, can be converted to PDF if you wish, and then share it with the management team or whatever. So let me execute it. All right, the first one. So for that, this is a Node.js program. So simply I execute it with node new.js. And you will see that first of all, the JSON data is going to be printed on the screen, and then the report is going to be generated. All right. So here you see that all the users of my Kiuwan account, which contains the string edu, as I told here, are edu.demo, edupublic, and edunotify. So I have 3 users in Kiuwan. And now if we look into our folder, the Kiuwan users docx has been created. If we open it, we will see that the report has been generated with the JSON data. Now, if you would like to export this to PDF, you can do it from here or programmatically. So here, PDF. And you can edit it as you wish, you can put your logo, etc. And now the second one. It is new2.js. You can see here is this one. All right, here we have obtained all the portfolios with their values. So we have, for example, the portfolio business value, whose values are critical, high, medium, low, very low. And we will see if it is a system portfolio, so it is created in Kiuwan by default, or if the user has created it. If you don't know what is a portfolio, it is simply a classifier. So Kiuwan applications can be classified in portfolios. So for example, imagine I have the portfolio language and that has the values Java, Python, C, C++, and then I can classify all my applications depending on the language. So for example, my application GSOP is, I give it the portfolio language, the value JavaScript, because it is a JavaScript application. So now, as we have executed this program, if we go again to our folder, the Kiuwan portfolios Excel file has been created. We access it, and we see that the table was fulfilled. So this is a great functionality if you want to create your custom reports, because as I told you, even though Kiuwan has a very comprehensive functionality in terms of reporting, there may be always the case that you would like to extract some specific information and to export it into a report. So for that, you can use this open source tool, Carbon. All right, so that's all I have for now. I don't know, JD, if you want to add something before question time.
No, I don't. But if you could pass control back over to me, I'll
Yes, of course.
take them to a
I
last
think
couple of things to show.
no.
Well, I think I have it, but
No?
yeah, I do. Just had to find the right button to click. All right, so thank you, Edu. He took us through our actually using the API to build something of value. And that takes us to the end, the question and answer period, where we try and field any of the questions that have come in during the course of the presentation. And there have been some that we've been fielding or replying to while we have been talking, and I wanted to go over those while we wait for the rest of the questions to come in. So, and Edu, feel free to chime in if you know the answers, more of the answers than I do. So one of the questions was, how can I compare the advancement of a project? And the short answer is that it's a long answer. One is you can go to governance. Let me turn that on for you so you can see it. So as I told you, we have this governance tab, which allows you to see the overall health of the project. Not all customers have this. It takes some amount of data, some number of scans to really pull the value out of this. But in this particular case, we're watching the advancement of products. In this case, I'm sorting by applications across time. So you get some kind of view like that. And remember, these are all sample apps that are contrived and made to look goofy like that. But then you can tag your apps with metadata and then sort that view by those metadata components and get additional views of applications over time, the advancement over time based off of the, based off of the tags that you've applied to that. Most folks, though, are going to be looking at it from a code security or a code quality point of view, and then you will probably be down over in these menus where you can pull individual PDFs or pull lists of vulnerabilities from specific scans, and then you'll have access to things like this where you have the compare, where you can compare two scans. So the latest scan with some previous scan and get an idea of how it's been progressing over time that way. Same kind of concept, but it's limited in scope to just latest, and so X and X minus 1. And then just in this case to code security or code quality, or for example. The next question was a little bit harder. I had to do some scrambling while we were talking, and is the generated PowerPoint. So under governance, you get reports management. Under reports management, you can generate a report, and you can either do PDF or PowerPoint. So the question was, that PowerPoint data that comes back, is it just a graphic, or is it PowerPoint data, table data? And unfortunately, I'm presenting in PowerPoint, so I can't actually launch this in PowerPoint. So I launched it in Keynote instead because I'm on a Mac. And like we said, you do get a mix of graphic data that's less less fine-tunable, less malleable, but you also do get graph data that you can go ahead and change in PowerPoint. The next question was, does it support integration with DevOps and orchestration type stuff? And the short answer to that is yes. If you go to our Kiuwan homepage, or if you're a Kiuwan user, you can come down here to documentation, and that will take you to Kiuwan.com resources product documentation. And as you see in the Q&A panel, what I did was just redirect to this developers integration page. So all these pages are available to you today. You can read those today, and including reading things like how we have plugins and how we integrate into things where we don't have plugins. And the too long didn't read part of this is that we either have plugins that you can use directly, or in most of these cases, if we don't have a plugin, it's as hard as modifying the YAML file in the tool to point to the Kiuwan local analyzer in CLI mode. And then the REST, can I use the REST interface to load data into the repo or extend the meta model? So I don't know the exact answer to that. I think the answer is no, that we don't have a way to push data. We don't have much in the way of push functionality via the API. It's all pull. Is that
That's correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
And for security reasons, we don't allow you to do much extension to our APIs or our meta models. That would be something that you would talk to your account representative and do some kind of individual agreement or make functionality available to you and your company on a one-off basis. I don't know that it's possible. I don't know that it's not possible. It's just normally with the people that Edu and I work with, we just take stuff off the shelf. And then there's another question: how do we handle false positives, and do we have any way to reduce false positives that's AI or heuristic based? So we're kind of getting off topic here. I'll answer those questions offline, but the summary of it is that like all SAST that I know of, we have the ability to mute, so you can mute false positives. And then our issues are detected by a thing we call rules, and rules are contained in models. And you off the shelf, you get some 4,300 rules. These are actually Java classes that instantiate the logic we're searching for, and you can clone these and extend these, and you can create your own. And Edu has actually done a webinar where he shows you how to work with rules, how to create your own rules, and it's over here on this on our homepage under webinars. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but we'll send that to you in an email, Arun. The short of it is we don't do a lot of AI and ML and fancy stuff to modify our rules and our search detection. We leave that type of nuance and intelligence to the human, to you, as you step through these, because the priorities of any given vulnerability we find on any given day will vary in your organization based off of business imperatives that day, which is to say, I don't know what your boss is going to come down and tell you is most important today. So you need some flexibility to say, this is the thing we're working on today, or this is the thing we're working on today. But the detection are all very standard based off of these normative standards. These are issues that are defined, patterns that are defined by these standards that we have found in your code. But I'll answer that in more detail offline, because it's kind of drifting off the path of reporting. And once again, I'll field. There's a question about speed. How fast do we go? So that was whatever, 50,000 lines in 18 minutes. And the official answer is it depends on what rules, how long does it take to do a scan? It depends. It depends on the complexity of the code, the number of lines, and the amount of rules you apply to a given scan. So with that, we're coming to the end of our webinar. If I did not answer your question, I will, in real time here, we will reply to you in an email. We get all these questions recapitulated to us so we can make sure we covered everybody. And if you have additional questions when you're viewing this later and you want to challenge Edu and myself, feel free to reach out to us. You can send us an email and it will get to us, guaranteed, and we'll chase down those questions and get back to you. You can also read more about Kiuwan and actually take it for a test drive if you'd like and play with it yourself by surfing back over to us and contacting us. And with that, I'll start to shut it down unless anybody has any more questions you want to put into the chat window. Or Edu, if you have anything you want to say. Then I'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. Thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you very much.
You'll find this presentation, as I said, will be emailed out to folks who subscribed. And then usually these are available on our YouTube channel as well. So you can, if you lose the link and can't share it today, you can point folks back to that YouTube channel and you can download this and the other webinars, like for example, the one on how to build your own rules that Edu did. And we hope to see you all in some future webinar. So with that, thanks, stay safe, and get back to work. Talk to you later.